Topic is Bhagavad Gita, SANKHYA and Physiology for Excellence in Extension, Education and Community Development. This is basically the body and the soul is there. The purpose, the body and the soul. Soul is what activates and actualizes the whole body, human organism. And how the soul, physiology, how it shows it makes the body and the behavior. Based on that, I have written this paper. Next. The main problem is that education has been perverted to suit the interest of those in power. That's what Abdul Kalam has said. And C.P. Snow had said it in 1959, that the two cultures, that's a great lecture of two cultures, that is because of the two cultures of social science and humanities and natural science. While natural scientists are not interested in social development, social scientists and those trained in humanities who are actually governing the whole world, I mean whole countries and all, they don't know the basics of natural science, that they don't even know what the second law of thermodynamics is. So the whole problem has happened because people don't understand what energy is. You see, energy has been understood by physicists as a mathematical concept, has been understood as a mathematical concept that energy is the capacity to do work. That's how the dictionaries will define it. But actually, E is equal to mc squared. That means energy is matter. And this definition had been given by had been given by Aristotle, and he said that energy is the source of everything's being and function. Everything's function means it's the capacity to do work, and energy is what forms and transforms. So it is the source of everything's being and function. Now this is an important definition because everyone thinks that God is the source of everything's being and function. So this has to be noted. And energia, he said, Aristotle had said, is what allows a thing to do its job. And in his book, Aristotle's On the Soul, De Anima, he says, the soul is energia in the way that knowledge is. Now today, and then, okay, I'll just finish off the energy laws also, we should know. When we started by Newton, they started the scientific revolution. That time they knew that matter cannot be destroyed. So then when they started the studying of energy, they said the energy cannot be destroyed, energy can only be transformed. And the second law of thermodynamics was that the disorder increases in a system unless you put energy in it. And this thing was the last words of the Buddha. Buddha's last famous words were, decay is inherent of all compounded things, work out your fulfillment with diligence. That means put in energy and work out your sense. So those people knew it, only thing, and Aristotle has put this whole thing in a biological manner. But now what has happened, globalization since, go to the next slide please. Okay, so about 1830, the theory of cell was there, where we knew that only things that are cells and have cells in them have life. We are a biological machine driven by cells. That was known in the 30s, and also in the 1830s there was a law of energy, nervous energies. So they knew that, and in 1860, psychophysics, psychophysics, or what they today call sensory psychology, came up, and that was in the book, Fechner's law of sensation, which said that as the stimulus on us increases exponentially, logarithmically, the sensations that we experience grow linearly. This is a fixed law that outside energy becomes, and everyone, we know today that energy strikes the sense receptors and it is transduced, that means it is converted into a form of energy which is transmitted to by the nerves through the brain. So energy is the form, the information is an informed energy which goes to the brain, and this information, now when we came to so that's how they started in studying physiology in 1870s. And the body is made up of 100 crores. Soul is what gives life to the body. And then today, with molecular biology, we know that all living cells that we know of on this planet are DNA software-driven biological machines comprised of hundreds of thousands of protein robots. So this information ultimately is stored in the DNA. Software means operative information. The hereditary information that is there is stored in our cells. And the cells, they grow, the DNA splits up, and new cells of the same, with the same DNA are born. So the DNA information remains the same. Many cells die, but the information remains the same. So the body dies and the information remains. And this is the same way we give it to our progeny. The information remains. The body is a new one, which is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. So I won't take too much time over the rest of the thing. I'll go straight to the Bhagavad Gita. Next. Okay, that was explained by Aristotle in one way. It is explained in next, go straight. Okay, one minute, previous one. See, previous one. Now, in 1934, in the organism, this is how Maslow's theory came about. Kurt Gorchen said that the organism has definite potentialities, and because it has them, it has the need to actualize them or realize them. And the fulfillment of these needs is the actualization, self-actualization. Self-actualization is what is called self-realization in philosophy. It is called self-fulfillment by normal people. Basically, it's fulfillment and contentment of the self. That is what happiness is. And everybody wants that. Every organism wants that. And we have to, Maslow said, we have to fulfill our physiological needs and the psychodynamics. Psychodynamics, when we have to go outside to collect the materials, we have to keep ourselves safe. And this learning is from the eyes and ears when we are conscious. So that is one form of information. And the other inside the body, so like for sense of touch is the contact senses. That under the palms of skin alone, we have 5 different types of sense receptors: heat, pain, pressure, light touch, and plus there are many other different sense receptors inside the body, chemical and otherwise, out of which the main ones are the pain and heat, because these are the nociceptors. Nociceptors means whenever your ligament or something is tearing or is about to tear, you feel the pain or the heat, and that throws you straight into action. And Bhagavad Gita's thing is mainly to be aware of this and remain calm. Next. Go straight to Buddhists have explained it in another way. I will not go to that. Next. Bhagavad Gita. It starts off, first of all, he says to Arjun, Arjun has to kill his Bhishma Pitama, he has to kill his yoga teacher, Dronacharya, and that's a very most traumatic thing to do. So, I mean, he tells them, you grieve for those whom you should not be grieved for, and you call yourself a great, a wise man. But in the wise man, here the words for wise man is prajna. Now, see, there are 2 forms of memories, which is there in the slides, but there are 2 forms of memory. For outside knowledge, which we collect, that is a consciousness memory. It is called the declarative memory in physiology, and that depends upon the hippocampus and the temporal lobe. So that is for the outside world, to keep us safe. That is the consciousness which we can think with. It's called declarative memory, which you can talk about. The other memory is non-declarative memory. That does not require the hippocampus. That is about the sense of touch and the inside, whatever things are there. So this inside thing is prajna. Non-declarative memory is pragya, and this outside world memory, consciousness memory, in the olden days they used to call it sankhya. Sankhya is there in the Hindi word today, which means sansar, consciousness or memory. So these 2 things, he says that learned people do not grieve for those who are dying or those who are not dying. The next slide he says, it is because, certainly it is not because we have always existed, because our soul has always existed. The first soul which came 4 billion years ago, the same soul has remained in us Because it is split, and it is, we changed, the organisms stayed in different places. Some became plants, some became animals, some became human beings. Learned, but the DNA information has remained the same. It's only altered here and there. So that's how all the bodies in our cell, trillion cells are that. So we are growing. So this next third verse, he says, as the boyhood, youth, and we are losing our cells. Every day we are losing 500 billion blood cells. Every 2 or 4 days, the whole outer layer of our skin falls down. That's how we are, and the whole body actually changes in 9 years, 8 to 9 years. So we are having a new body, but the information remains, because the DNA information, that's why we think we are the same person. So that's the second verse. Now, Arjuna's, by telling him this, Arjuna has learned it by his conscious ears, but he has not learned it by his body sensation. The next verse is the vipassana, is the actual technique. So I'll treat that thing. But the contact, but I'll treat the original one, because the original can be Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhadaha. Sparsha ki matra. Degrees of contact only produce shitoshna sukha dukkhadaha, yani heat and cold, pleasure and pain. The nociceptors are activated by the contact senses only. Agamapai no nitya santi tikshasva bharata. That means Agamapai, they arise and pass away. They are anitya, that means they are temporary, they're impermanent. So bear them, O Bharat. And the next verse he says, that person who does not get disturbed by these sensations, he alone, and that person who is the same in pleasure and pain, he alone is the same in pleasure and pain, and he alone is fit to attain Amrit. Amrit is the state of deathless consciousness, which is called yoga. Yoga in Patanjali says chitta vritti nirodha. There is no fluctuation in consciousness. No arising, no death. The Jains call it anarambi. There is no birth. We call it Amrit. Buddhists also call it. So this is a scientific thing which I have shown the science of it, so that scientists can do research on it now. That yoga is a science, a natural science. And we need the world scientists to carry out research in this. That is the most important thing. That's what my paper is there for. Thank you.